Your room is just sitting there collecting dust," my mother said over Sunday dinner, not looking up from her plate. "Your brother and Kayla need it more than you do." I set down my fork, took a slow breath, and said nothing. That night, I started making calls. The spreadsheet had been open on my second monitor for 6 hours. A color-coded map of every dollar I had funneled into that house over the past 4 years. The mortgage contribution column alone was enough to make a person's jaw unhinge. I closed the laptop, leaned back in my chair, and looked around my room. Not just a room. Really, I had gutted it the year I moved back in. Ripped out the old carpet. Laid down, engineered hardwood. Built floor-to-ceiling shelving along the east wall for my equipment. I was a freelance UX designer, and my setup was my livelihood. Dual monitors, a drawing tablet, a ring light, a proper microphone for client calls, a standing desk I had assembled myself on a Saturday afternoon while my mother watched reality TV in the next room and my father napped. The space had taken me 8 months and just under $22,000 to put together. It was small, but it was mine in every way that mattered. I was 31 years old, and I had moved back home after my apartment lease ended, and my freelance work exploded at the same time. The math had seemed simple then. Stay home for a year. Save aggressively. Buy my own place. Except a year had stretched into 2, and then into 3. And somewhere along the way, the arrangement had quietly shifted from temporary to permanent in everyone's mind but mine. I paid $800 a month toward the mortgage because my parents had been struggling since my father's hours got cut. I covered the streaming subscriptions. I paid for the upgraded internet because my work required it. And because my brother, Derek, I used it to stream video games for 8 to 10 hours a day. I handled the pest control contract after we had a mouse problem that my father addressed by placing a single glue trap near the refrigerator, and considering the matter resolved, I was not a daughter living at home. I was a silent property manager, who also attended the family dinners. Derek was 26. He had dropped out of his third community college 2 years ago, and had been in what my mother called a transitional period ever since. His girlfriend, Kyla, had moved into his bedroom 6 months ago. A development that was announced to me after the fact, with the same casual energy as telling me there was no more orange juice. Kayla was 24, loud in a specific way that made me want to wear noise-canceling headphones at all times, and had recently started a quote-unquote business selling handmade jewelry on an app that I was fairly certain had fewer active users than my college alumni newsletter. She referred to herself as a creative entrepreneur. Derek called himself her business partner. From what I could observe, their primary collaborative output was leaving dishes in the sink and running the dryer for 40 minutes without actually transferring anything to the dryer first. The Sunday dinner where everything shifted had started like every other one. Potrost. Mashed potatoes. My mother's good china, because she believed in using the good china even for ordinary Sundays, which I had always admired about her, before it started to feel like the decorative surface of something rotting underneath. My father was at the head of the table, carving the roast with the focused energy of a man who needed to feel useful. Derek and Kayla were across from me. Kayla, showing Derek something on her phone with a giggle she had not bothered to swallow. I had come from 3 hours of back-to-back client calls and was running on iced coffee and the kind of tired that settles into your eye sockets. Then my mother set down her fork with a small, decisive click. "We have some news," she said, and she looked at Kayla the way she used to look at me when I brought home a good report card. Kayla sat up straighter and pressed her lips together in a smile she had clearly been holding in for a while. "We're expecting," she said, her voice pitched upward on the last word like a question. Or maybe like a prayer. My mother made a sound I had not heard from her in years, high and bright and completely unguarded. She pushed back from the table and went around to hug Kayla before Kayla had even finished speaking. My father set down the carving fork and shook Derek's hand with both of his presents. The way he did at church when he really meant it. I said, "Congratulations." I meant it. A baby is not the problem. A baby is just a baby. The problem arrived 4 minutes later. On schedule. The way problems do when they have already been discussed and decided before you were invited to the table. My father looked at Derek. Then at Kayla. Then at the ceiling. Then at me. He did it in a way that was designed to look like he was just now thinking of something, though it was transparently a rehearsed sequence. "Where are you two going to set up the nursery?" he said. It wasn't quite a question. Derek scratched the back of his neck. "His room is too small," he said. He said his room. Not our room. Even though Kayla had been sleeping there for 6 months, that detail registered somewhere in my chest like a small, cold stone. My mother was already nodding. She had the expression of a woman executing a plan she was proud of. "And Kayla's been talking about needing a studio space," she said. "For the jewelry photography, the videos, all of that. She needs good light. She needs room to work." I looked at my mother. I looked at the careful way she was not looking at me. "Your room would be perfect," my mother said. She said it gently. "The way you say something you have already decided. You have all that equipment set up? The lighting is already good. The shelving. It's really just what they need to get started." I felt the specific internal sensation of a floor dropping out from under something. I kept my face still. I had learned to do that early. In this family, in this house, I run my business out of that room. I said. My voice came out measured. "It's not a guest room. It's my workspace. I have client calls in there every day. You can use the living room," my father said, cutting into his roast again, as though the conversation was essentially complete. "Or the kitchen table. Your grandmother used to run her sewing business from the kitchen table. Grandma also didn't have a client in Singapore." I said. "You're being dramatic," my mother said. Her tone had shifted from gentle to brisk. The way it did when she wanted to move past a thing. It would be temporary. Just until they get on their feet. Temporary. I had heard that word applied to so many things in that house that had become permanent. The temporary financial help, the temporary extra grocery runs, the temporary internet upgrade, the temporary 1 more year of mortgage contributions. Derek leaned forward and put his elbows on the table. "Look," he said. "For you have all that equipment, but it's not like you're always in there. Kayla needs a real space to grow the business. You're single. You're flexible." He said flexible. The way people say it when they mean you don't matter as much as the people who do. Kayla nodded, her hand resting on her stomach. "We're trying to build something for our family," she said. "We just need a little support while we get going." I looked at them. My brother, who had been handed the word flexible as a synonym for my name. My mother, whose eyes were shining because she was getting the grandchild and the gratitude all in one package. My father, who was already eating again. And Kayla, who had been in this house for 6 months and was now being handed a room that had taken me a year of work and $22,000 to build. Without anyone asking me if I was done with it, I picked up my fork. "Of course," I said. "Family comes first. Let me think about the timeline, and I'll let you know." My mother exhaled with relief. She reached over and squeezed my hand. "That's my girl," she said. "I knew you'd understand." I understood a great deal more than she realized. I did not make a scene. I did not send an angry text at 11 at night. I did not give them a speech about everything I had contributed. Though I had drafted 3 versions of it in my head over the years and could have delivered any one of them from memory. What I did was open a new tab on my browser before I was even back in my room that night and start looking at apartments. I had been passively looking for 2 years in the abstract. And the way you do when leaving feels necessary but also impossible. Now I was looking the way you look when you have already decided. I had savings. I had been saving since I was 23. Methodically, in a way that my family had noticed, but never directly acknowledged, except to occasionally ask if I could cover something and then act as if I was choosing generosity rather than being leveraged. I had enough for a down payment on a condo if I was willing to go slightly outside the city. I was willing. I emailed a real estate agent that night at 11:47. Over the next 2 weeks, I went through the motions. I attended dinner. I responded to texts. I accepted the news that Kayla had already started a Pinterest board for the nursery and that she was going with a woodland creature theme. I did not tell anyone what I was doing. I did not tell anyone. I had already toured 3 condos, or that I had made an offer on the third one. A 720 square foot unit on the 4th floor of a building with a gym and a rooftop terrace and a doorman named Clarence, who had been there for 19 years and knew the name of every resident's dog. The offer was accepted on a Thursday. I signed the paperwork on a Friday afternoon. Sitting in a glass-walled office with a notary and a real estate agent, and a silence in my chest that was so clean it almost hurt. I called no one. I stopped at a diner on the way home and ate a burger alone at the counter and felt, for the first time in a long time, like a person who was the author of her own story. I gave myself 3 weekends to move. I told my family I was putting my equipment in storage to start clearing the room. I told them I needed to do it gradually because some of the pieces were fragile. This was true. It was also true that I was using those 3 weekends to move everything into my new condo, which I had not yet mentioned. I hired movers for the big items. On a Saturday, my family had a cookout at my aunt's house. A conflict I had known about for 2 weeks and arranged my schedule around like a contractor who had studied the blueprints before breaking ground. The movers were efficient and professional and had the room cleared in under 4 hours. I swept the hardwood floor I had laid myself and felt a complicated affection for it. To the way you feel about a place you are leaving, not because you hate it, but because staying would require hating yourself. Then I sat down at the desk I was taking with me, and I opened the spreadsheet. The mortgage contribution had been set up as an automatic transfer to my parents' account. I went into the portal and canceled the automatic payment. I noted the effective date. Then I went through the list methodically, the same way I had built it, line by line. The streaming services I had added my card to. I removed my card and logged out. The pest control contract was in my name. I called and canceled it with 30 days' notice. The high-speed internet was under my name because my father's credit score had made the account setup complicated 3 years ago. I called the provider and gave notice to downgrade to the basic residential plan, the one that cost $32 a month and had enough bandwidth for casual browsing and not much else. I had a new account already set up for my condo. Business-grade fiber. Paid for with my own money. Serving only me. The emergency credit card. My mother had my old credit card number for household emergencies, which she interpreted broadly. I reviewed the last 6 months of charges. A significant portion was from a home goods store. Another portion was from a clothing retailer I recognized as Kayla's preference from a comment she had made at dinner once about their sales. I reported the card lost. Account closed. I left the keys on the kitchen counter under a ceramic bowl, shaped like an artichoke that my mother had bought at a craft fair 10 years ago, and loved unreasonably. I wrote a note on an index card. The room is ready for the nursery. I hope it's everything you need. I signed my name the way I signed client contracts. First and last. Clear and complete. I drove to my condo with the last carload of boxes and carried them up to the 4th floor in 2 trips and stood in the middle of my living room in the dark and listened to the absolute quality of the silence. It was not the silence of being excluded. It was the silence of having arrived somewhere. The first week my phone was quiet in a way that confirmed they thought I was still there. Just sleeping at a friend's place, or working late, or whatever story they had constructed to explain the absence without having to ask. I unpacked slowly, and with pleasure, arranging my monitors on my new desk by the window that faced east and got the best morning light. Then, Kayla posted a reel. It was a transformation video. Before and after of the room. The before was a photo she had taken without my knowledge. Probably while I was at dinner one night, showing my setup with its shelving and its clean lines. The after was what they had done with it. The shelving was gone, replaced by a flat-packed bookshelf, assembled slightly crooked. There was a second-hand dresser with a cracked veneer pushed against the wall that had been my equipment wall. In the corner was a ring light, the cheap kind, and a backdrop cloth pinned crookedly to a curtain rod. "We're building our dream space," the caption said. "Stay tuned for the baby journey." The comments had 3 heart emojis and a response from someone I assumed was Kayla's cousin. The engagement was not what anyone would call promising. Day 9. My mother texted, "Hey honey, the internet is so slow we can't even stream anything. Is there an outage? I waited 4 hours?" Then I replied, "I downgraded the plan when I moved out. You're on the basic package now. If you want to stream, you'll need to call the provider and upgrade." My mother replied instantly, "What do you mean moved out?" I wrote back, "I got a condo. I moved out 2 weeks ago. Didn't anyone notice?" She did not reply for 40 minutes. Then she sent a single text. "We thought you were just busy with work." My father called that evening. I let it go to voicemail and listened to it later while I was making dinner. Voicemail said, "Lauren, call me back when you get this. The mortgage payment didn't go through. The bank sent a notification. I don't know what happened with the automatic transfer. Also, the internet is not working right. And there's a pest control guy who called and said the contract was canceled. What is going on? Call me." I texted back the next morning. "Hey Dad, the automatic transfer was set up from my account. I canceled it when I moved out. You'll need to set up your own payment directly with the bank. I can walk you through it if you want. For the internet, just call the provider. For pest control, I can send you the name of the company if you want to set up your own contract." He did not respond for 2 days, which meant he was either furious or overwhelmed or both. Meanwhile, Derek had apparently told the family I had sabotaged the household intentionally. Based on a group text I was still in, that I was reading with the detached interest of a documentarian. My mother said she didn't want to believe it. My aunt said it sounded like I was going through something. Derek said it was selfish. Kayla, who had been in the family for 6 months, said it was honestly really hurtful. I left the group text on read and made myself a cup of tea. By week 4, the internet had been upgraded. But apparently, the new plan cost $90 more per month than the old one, and my parents had not budgeted for it. Kayla's real views had plateaued at 62. Derek had set up a gaming stream from the room after determining that the natural light was bad for screen recording. The woodland creature nursery theme was apparently on pause because they had realized that the room they were given was smaller without my built-in shelving, and the crib, the nursing chair, and Kayla's photography equipment did not fit together the way the Pinterest board had suggested. My mother's texts had shifted in tone from confused to pressuring acticade. She sent a voice note at 7:40 in the morning on a Wednesday. "Lauren, honey, I just want to understand what happened. You didn't say anything. You just left. And now everything is a mess. The mortgage is behind. Your father is stressed. Kayla is stressed. The baby is coming in 4 months. I just feel like you're punishing us and I don't understand why. I want to talk. Please call me." I listened to it twice. The second time I paid attention to the specific architecture of it, everything is a mess. The mortgage is behind. The framing was not, "We made a mistake." The framing was, "You left, and now things are hard." I called her back that evening. I kept my voice even and warm because I did not want to have a fight. I wanted to have a conversation, which is a different thing. She answered on the first ring. Hi, Mum, I said. She started with how worried she had been and how she had not slept well and how your father is really upset. As though my father's upset was a weather event I was responsible for. I let her go through it. Then I said, Mom, can I ask you something? When you asked me to give up my room for the nursery, did you know I had built that room with my own money? Well, it's our house, she said. Reflexively, right, I said. And I've been paying part of the mortgage for 4 years. I've been paying for the internet, and the pest control and the streaming services. I wasn't a guest. Mum, I was a contributor. And when you asked me to give up the space I built and paid for, and you did it at a dinner table in front of everyone without asking me privately first, you just announced it. Like it was decided. She was quiet. I needed you to understand that I was a person, not a resource, I said. And I didn't think a conversation at that table was going to go anywhere. So I made a decision that was right for me. Allison, you just disappeared, she said. You didn't even say goodbye. Lauren, I said. What? My name is Lauren. Mom? Allison is the neighbor's daughter. But that's beside the point. There was a pause. Then she said, You know what I meant? I do, I said. I know exactly what you meant. She asked me to come home. She used the word home very deliberately. With the weight of a woman who had said it to a child so many times, it had become a form of gravity. I said my home was a condo on the 4th floor of a building, with a gym and a rooftop terrace, and that I was very happy there. She said that wasn't what she meant, and I said I knew. My father wanted a meeting, not a conversation. A meeting, which was how I knew he had decided to reapproach this in his capacity as the head of household. A title he performed more than held. We agreed on a Thursday evening, at a restaurant that was far enough from the house to feel neutral. I drove myself. I did not offer to pick anyone up. They were already there when I arrived. Sitting in a booth with the particular posture of people who have agreed in advance not to fight. Derek had come too, which surprised me. And then, did not surprise me when I remembered that someone needed to drive them because my father's night vision had been giving him trouble, and my mother had never been comfortable with highway driving after dark. Kayla had stayed home, which was a choice I received with quiet gratitude. We ordered. My father did not look at the menu because he always ordered the same thing. My mother got soup, which meant she was nervous. Derek got a burger and ate the pickle off the side plate before anything else arrived, which was such a Derek thing to do that I felt briefly and involuntarily fond of him. My father put his hands flat on the table. He did this before speeches. We need to talk about the financial situation, he said. The mortgage. We got behind. It's not something we can sustain. I know, I said. That's why you should talk to a financial advisor. I can recommend one. He looked at me like I had said something slightly absurd. We're talking to you, he said. I understand, I said. But I'm not a financial advisor. I'm your daughter. My mother reached across the table. Her eyes were earnest and a little desperate, and I recognized the specific look because I had been responding to it for most of my adult life. We're not asking you to solve everything, she said. We're just asking you to come back, pay a little toward the mortgage again, help us get stable. Just until the baby comes and Kayla's business gets going. I said nothing for a moment. I looked at my mother's hand on top of mine. I turned mine over and held it. Because she was my mother and the hand was real. Mom? I said. I love you. But I can't be your financial plan. I was never supposed to be. You and Dad have a house, a mortgage, and 2 other adults living there. Derek is 26. Kayla is 24. They are having a child. At some point, the plan has to be for them to contribute to the household. not for me to fund it from the outside. Because I feel guilty for leaving. Kayla contributes. Derek said. She has her business. Her business made less than $300 last quarter. I said. I saw the numbers because she asked me to help her with her taxes and then didn't take any of my advice. He opened his mouth. I kept going. Gently. The way you do when you're not looking for a fight? Derek. I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm saying that you have a baby coming and a household that isn't financially stable, and the answer to that is not me. The answer to that is a real income source, either from you or from Kayla, or ideally from both of you. That's easy for you to say. He said. You have a career. I built that career. I said. I built it in a room in that house that I paid for and set up and worked in every day for 3 years. And when you needed it for a nursery, that has barely been used as a nursery, no one hesitated to ask me to hand it over. That's what I want you to understand. I wasn't disposable. I was just the person in the family who was the most willing to give things up. The table was quiet. My father was looking at his hands. My mother had taken her hand back and was turning her soup spoon over and over. Derek looked at me for a long moment. Then he said, quietly, Did you actually pay $22,000 for that room? Yes. I said. He absorbed this. He looked slightly smaller. I recognized this because I had grown up with him, and I knew the precise way his face moved when he felt genuinely bad about something versus when he was performing remorse. This was the real version. We didn't know that. He said. I didn't tell you. I said. I didn't think I needed to. I thought it was visible. My father cleared his throat. He was not a man who apologized often or with ease, but he had a code about fairness that I respected, even when it wasn't applied to me. If we had known, he said, and stopped. I know. Dad. I said. What do you want us to do? He said. It was the most honest thing he had said all evening. Nothing. I said, I want you to handle your household. Set up the mortgage payment. Get the internet in your name. Talk to Derek and Kayla about contributing to the bills. Not to punish you. Just because that's how a household works. I'll be fine. I am fine. I have a nice place. I have my work. I have my life. I'm not cutting you off. I'm just not holding everything up anymore. My mother looked at me for a long time. Her expression had moved through several things and had arrived somewhere I recognized as sorrow, which was different from guilt and further from manipulation. She said, I think I forgot. Sometimes. That you were working so hard. I just thought you were just there. I took that for granted. I know. I said, I let that happen too. That's on both of us. We ate. The conversation went to smaller things. Careful things. The way family conversations do when something real has been said, and everyone needs to come down from it. Derek showed me a picture of the crib they had found secondhand. It was actually a nice crib. I told him so, when we said goodbye outside the restaurant. My mother hugged me for a long time. Longer than usual. She smelled like the same lotion she had used since I was 7 years old, and it was the most complicated thing I encountered all month. Drive safe, my father said. He patted my arm. He was not a hugger with me. Generally. But the pat was solid, and he left his hand there for a second, longer than necessary. I counted it. On the drive home, I had the windows down even though it was October and getting cold. Because the air felt necessary. My phone buzzed once on the seat. A notification from my bank. Automatic client invoice paid. Another retainer secured. I let it light up and go dark without touching it. And merged onto the highway with the particular feeling of a person who knows exactly where she is going. There's a version of family loyalty that asks you to keep very still so that everyone around you can keep moving. It asks you to be the floor and call it love. I had been that floor for a long time, and I was not bitter about it. Exactly. But I was done with it. The people I loved most in the world had needed me to become someone they couldn't quite see until I wasn't there. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for the people who have forgotten you're a person is to remind them, quietly, without anger, by simply becoming unavailable to be forgotten. I got home and poured myself a glass of wine and stood on my small balcony in the cold October air, looking out at a city that did not know my name or my history or the specific weight of the years behind me. It was indifferent in the way that freedom is always a little indifferent. I finished the wine. I went inside. I closed the balcony door and locked it, and went to bed in an apartment that was mine. In a life that was mine. And I slept better than I had in years.